Hello, clever people! Welcome to my review of the Bourne trilogy, not including the Bourne Legacy because that film doesn't really have a lot to do with the franchise. Now, I'm doing this in honor of Jason Bourne, which is coming out on July 29th on Friday, and I'll probably be getting my review for that up on the 30th or the 31st. But next week I probably won't be able to shoot any reviews, so that's why I decided to do this review now. So I'm going to be doing it in order of the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy, and then the Bourne Ultimatum. So let's just jump right into it. The first one up is the Bourne Identity. Now the Bourne Identity follows Matt Damon's character, Jason Bourne, as he wakes up in the middle of the ocean with amnesia and doesn't remember anything about his past life other than something that's jabbed into his side, which is a number for a bank. So, his bank account number. So he goes there, gets some stuff, and a whole lot of stuff happens. And I can say I was really looking forward to this movie. I love spy movies. I mean, it's one of my favorite genres. And this is known as one of the best spy trilogies of all time and some of the best spy films of all time. Now, I gotta say, The Bourne Identity, I think, is a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's just a good movie. The action definitely is awesome. In fact, that's something consistent throughout the three of them. The action is just pure awesome. It's so fun to watch. The use of shaky cam is actually quite well done, which is surprising because I usually hate shaky cam. But yeah, the action throughout them is all good. And this one, I think that this one, out of them all, has the best pacing because it's I believe it's about 2 hours long. This is 1 hour and 59 minutes. And it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like maybe 45 minutes or an hour. It's really well done. Jason Bourne as a character is such a BA. He's a great character. He's strong, and you don't know much about him. You just know that he can kick anyone and defeat them. He's just an awesome character. Not the type of character you want to hang out with, but he's a great movie character. And I love how the movie is told through the perspective of Bourne, where everything is revealed slowly as he finds out more things. When he wakes up, you don't know anything about him. He doesn't know anything about him. Yet as the film goes on and it progresses, you slowly see more and more about his life. And I thought that was really well done. Now, there are quite a few bad things about this movie. This movie, it has villains, as in the police are villains, the police going after him, trying to find him, only they don't really make characters out of them. There's no real characters out of all of them. It's just a group of people sitting in one room, and that really brought down the movie. And they improved that in the second and third one, but in the first one, that was a big glaring issue. It's forgettable, really, The Bourne Identity. It's just a forgettable movie. Out of these other two right here, I remember shots from them more vividly than from The Bourne Identity. I don't really remember that one too much, and it's not intriguing like the other ones are. It's just sort of there, and you're sort of watching it, and you're enjoying it because it's an enjoyable movie, but it's not intriguing and it's not suspenseful, and I think that may have been intentional because they're trying to make this more of a character study about Bourne, but what I love about the other two is that they can be character studies without having to be slow and lacking intrigue. So overall, The Bourne Identity, I think I give a 6.5 out of 10 to enjoyable, not as good as the other ones. Now this next one is my favorite in the series, the Bourne Supremacy. Now the Bourne Supremacy follows Jason Bourne a little bit afterwards. He's trying to get away from his life because he doesn't want to be a secret agent anymore. But eventually there's something that happens, won't spoil it, but it's at the beginning of the movie, that brings him back into the area that he was trying to get out of. Now the Bourne Supremacy is, I had tainted expectations for it because I just watched the first one. I was like, I'm not sure how this is going to be, but I loved The Bourne Supremacy. I love this movie. It practically improves upon everything from the first one. You know how I said the first one wasn't intriguing or suspenseful? This one is absolutely intriguing and suspenseful because they have a great combination of story and action, and they combine them so well together. And your eyes are glued to the screen, and you're constantly on the edge of the edge of your seat, wondering what's happening. And the action scenes, they're great. The score is awesome throughout the entire trilogy. I forgot to bring that up in the first one, but the score adds a lot of suspense and intrigue, and even where there's scenes where people are just sitting in a room talking, or there's one person looking through something, the score makes it a lot more suspenseful. What I love about this movie is that every single scene adds intrigue and interest in the movie. Every single scene that goes on, there's not a single scene that you think, oh, that doesn't need to be in there, that can just be thrown out, that was a throwaway scene. You don't really think that for any of the movies. The performances are significantly better than the first one. Like, in the first one, the performances were passable, they were fine. In this one, they stick out as really good, especially Matt Damon. Now, his character wasn't as BA as the first one in The Bourne Supremacy, but he acted it out a lot better, and I think that was more due to the script and the direction that you can blame for his character not being as cool. But that was something I noticed, that his character really wasn't as cool. But I think that was also because they were sort of making this one a combination of action and storytelling, where the first one has a lot of storytelling, and his character is strong because of the storytelling, and when it gets to the action, that makes him all a lot cooler. I think that the use of shaky cam in The Bourne Supremacy is better than the rest of the trilogy, in my opinion. It's really well done, and it's not used just because they're trying to hide the choreography, because that's what it's used for a lot, where the two actors that are supposed to be fighting can't fight. They can't do it that well, and they couldn't really find a stunt double, so they just sort of do it, and then they shake it all up so that you can't really see what's going on. But in this one, it's used in a lot of the hand-to-hand combat scenes, where even it seems like the main actors are confused on what's going on, because there's so much going on in the fighting, and that I really did like. As I already said, the action, again, I can't harp on how great I thought the action was in this one. It's white-knuckle suspense. It's fantastic. Now, there are some bad things about this movie, not as much as the first one, but as I already said, Jason Bourne is in his BA, but this one is also very, very repetitive. After about an hour in, it just gets repetitive, and I didn't really like that as much. And it's not that it really messed with the pacing. I don't think that was the pacing's fault. I think that it was just the movie was too much of the same after a while. And that did get annoying, but that's not enough to bring that one down. I think The Bourne Supremacy is my favorite of the trilogy, and that is why I give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, on to the final one, which is The Bourne Ultimatum, which I just got finished watching. The Bourne Ultimatum is the final in the trilogy, and it's of Jason Bourne trying to finally figure out the ending to what's going on, because if you see the last two films, there's a lot going on. He's not sure about his identity. So in this final one, it's his last hurrah to try to figure out what's going on, and yeah. So this one is more of a heavy action movie. There is a lot of action sequences throughout this one, and I did think, I'll go with the bads first, because I sort of led myself into there. I think that led to a weaker story, and that I did not like, because the first one had a really, really good story, but not very good action. It wasn't very suspenseful. The second one, half and half, that's why I like that one most. Great action and great story. This one has a lot of action and very little story, and that's fine if you're leading up with the trilogy, which is what I did, but I think that as three individual films, as this one is an individual film, it suffers that way. And the first two acts of this movie, because they're just purely action and there's not a lot else going on, it's kind of boring. That was just me. I know a lot of people will disagree, but I personally found the first two acts to be quite boring, and the side characters throughout are extremely weak. And I realize that the whole trilogy is trying to be centered all around Bourne, but I think that you could have had stronger side characters. And there are a few side characters that you think, okay, those are good, yet there are also a couple that you just think that they're in there because they were in the other parts of the trilogy. Now, let's get into the goods of the movie. The action. I mean, when the majority of a film is action, it has to be good, and it was good. Some of the action scenes did draw on a little bit too long, And that's when I started getting bored with them. But for at least the first 5 to 10 minutes of all the action scenes were incredibly entertaining, and I was on the edge of my seat. They're very, very suspenseful, and I think even some of them are more suspenseful than the one in the Bourne Supremacy. It's a very entertaining movie. Like, you can practically pop it in at any time. The other ones, I can't say about that, and I can't really say that you can pop them any time and enjoy them, but this one I think that you can. Matt Damon does a really good job. I think this is his best acting because he doesn't talk too much. He's very silent, only that adds a lot to his character, which is very odd. In the final part of the movie, he acted that out really, really well. The third act is very well done, very suspenseful, and you finally get to see how Jason Bourne started in all this. And there's even one scene right before the big final ending that makes you go, oh my gosh. That was a great scene where he was basically saying, why are you doing this? And I thought that was a really, really good scene. Very brief, and it didn't have to do with any of the main bad guys in the movie. But I thought that was a great scene. And it's a very, very suspenseful movie. More so in the second half than the first half. But even in the first half, it's quite suspenseful. The second half is extremely suspenseful. And that's what I think that the Bourne Ultimatum has over the other ones. And that's what I really like about this trilogy, is that the Bourne Identity has better things than the other two. And the Bourne Ultimatum has things that are better than the other two, and the Bourne Supremacy has things that are better than the other two. And I really, really did like that, because I think that's how you can get a good trilogy. When you have 3 films that are very individual and can be better than each other but still fit in the same area. And that's what I really liked about this entire trilogy. So if I were to rank them, I believe that the Bourne Supremacy would go first, and then the Bourne Ultimatum, and then the Bourne Identity. And just as a recap for my scores, Bourne Supremacy is an 8 out of 10, Bourne Ultimatum is a 7.5 out of 10, and the Bourne Identity is a 6.5 out of 10. Alright, that concludes my review of the Bourne trilogy. Let me know what you think about this trilogy in the comments, and make sure to get excited for my Jason Bourne review that will be coming out sometime next weekend. Alright, that concludes the review. I am Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.